Ah oui, oui, monsieur.
Oui, comment ça va? Good talking with you.
I was. They wanted to know a funny story about that I could remember about you, and all that could come out of my mouth was, as I saw you at Cauliflower Alley a few weeks ago, you are the model.
Of course. Yes. Yeah, we had a good time, didn't we?
Oh, we had so much fun. It was good to see you and sit and reminisce and have dinner that night at the convention when you got up and accepted the award for your brother and everything. And I looked at you and the way you were dressed, and I said, "You are the model."
Yes, of course.
And
yes.
You know,
remember, arrogance is not just a fragrance; it's a way of life.
It was so great to see you and be with you, and I was thinking today and even all week. I think you and I only had one match together in the ring. It was a 6-man tag, if I remember correctly.
That's right.
It was Meadowlands in New Jersey. Me, myself, and the Hart Foundation, I think, was you. It was you, Ricky Steamboat, and I'm thinking Macho Man, Randy Savage. We were in a 6-man tag.
Yes. Because we never really, we worked together or, against each other or, just that one time, and that was it. And I wish it would. Yeah, I think there was a time Tito and I worked with you. I think
that's what it was. It was Tito. It was Tito and Tito Steamboat and you against myself
that's
and
right.
Hart. Yes. Yes,
that's
you're
right.
right.
That's correct. Exactly. Yeah, that sounds good.
But I was talking with. We have different guests on every week, and like Paul Bearer. We went for 20 years and never crossed paths, and then all of a sudden we saw each other for the next 10 years straight in a row, and same as you. I never crossed paths with you till we met in WWE.
Yeah, that's right. Because I'd go to territory. He had been there, or vice versa, and finally we met there. In the 90s, and because you started. What year did you start?
I was started in
Pour envoyer votre
77.
message, composez le 1 ou raccrochez. Pour modifier votre message, composez 2. Pour réviser le message,
started.
Pour obtenir les options de livraison,
not sure what we've got going on there.
Some French ladies talking there.
Yes. I don't know what the. Yeah, I started in 73.
Yeah.
And you started around the same time, and we've been many territories, and we just didn't see each other, and so.
We never crossed paths, and the thing that stands out, and you can reflect on this, of all the things that you did in the business, and all the championships you held, and of course being AWA World's Champion, and everything. What the fans remember now is the model, because it was such a perfect fit for you, and you did it so wonderful.
Oh, thank you very much, Honky Tonk. I really enjoy that. I've been a babyface for like 15 years, and being a heel was something. My brother was a heel, and I remember traveling with him in the heels, at the beginning, and I liked that. I liked hanging around with the heels, and so I always wanted to be a heel. I have to do it. I have to give it a try, and then I said. I went to see Vince with the idea, and at first he didn't want to do it. I said, no way, and then finally, he decided, give it a try, and I really enjoyed that. It gave me, because I'd done it for like 15 years, so the last 10 years, it gave me the extra, creative energy, to finish and having a good time doing it,
Yeah, and it's like I said, it was it was one of those things that was done to perfection, and you know this yourself. Sometimes you have to try a lot of things till you find something that really fits. And I think this you could have been a baby face with this. I think you could have been, as Ted DiBiase was, the $1 Million Man also, because you had that way of, you knew how to make things work.
Well, I appreciate your kind comments. When I was doing, I could have, like you said, experienced more with it, and but at that time, I'd been in, for many years, and I was starting my business, here at home, and I knew it was kind of for me to bow out, and but there's a lot more I could have done with it. You're right, Honky,
Oh yes, you could have done so much, and I didn't know until you gave a tremendously moving speech for your brother on the Tuesday night banquet when you accepted the award for him. I didn't know that you started at such a young age in the business.
Oh yeah, I had just turned 17, and so it's funny because my brother was in the Halifax, working for the K's, and a guy had been injured, and he called me up the Friday night. He says, "Look, Sunday morning you take the flight to Halifax and you start in professional wrestling." And wow, man! And then I did it, and I just finished, the school for, in June, and so I went for 2 months, did it, and then when I went back to school, after you've been hanging around with the boys for a couple of months, man, the stories that the kids at school were telling me, and compared to the stories I had been living for the last 2 months, I was like, oh my God, these guys are boring.
Yeah, you weren't cut out for that school.
Yeah, so I went, I went for a day and a half, and then I went to give the principal, I just said, well, I'm finished. And he couldn't believe it. And my parents, of course, were hot at my brother, I said, you got him hooked, and never looked back since, and but Honky, coming back to Cauliflower Alley Club, I really enjoyed your performance. That was a lot of fun, that was great. And it was so, like I said, Las Vegas, we're in Las Vegas, and I had a lot of fun watching it. It was great.
Yes, it was very touching, and of course, then you had your award the following night on Wednesday night at the big banquet, and gave another moving speech for yourself, and I came to Puerto Rico shortly after your brother had passed away, and I had a big program going, myself and Dutch Mantel, of course, with Frenchie Martin, who was Pierre Martel there,
right,
and Invader number 1, who his claim to fame was because of your brother's passing. Of course, his heart punch, mi puño, is what he called it, my punch. And so that catapulted him to stardom in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, unbelievable. And using this, I'd rather, when I think of that, it was, I was only 22 at the time when that happened, and I was so out of it, because, like I said at the union, he was my only brother, my best friend, my mentor, my idol. I was losing him. I was just, and when I went to pick up his body, in Ponce. Imagine the hospital in Ponce, Puerto Rico. Can you, you just
right.
Can picture that, right? And they got him out of there, and it's like a dog pound, and then they gave me the autopsy report all in Spanish, so I didn't give a shit how he died. I mean, all I knew is just he was gone, and that was it took me a few months, to get over that, and especially, back then, Honky, there wasn't that many wrestlers dying at that age, right?
No, we always knew that it would be a car wreck or an old age or something.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and so that's why it was a shock to everybody, and especially me. And then I went back. I was working in Atlanta, and I was hanging around, with Tommy Rich, and Tommy, he helped me a lot to go through that period. He was really good to me. We spent some few nights together. He would stay with me, make sure I wasn't by myself, or, so I was good having him around,
Yes, I know it was a very tough time, and we're just losing so many people at such a young age now, and way before their times. It's like it's never ending, and gosh, when I said it. Go ahead, Richard.
As we're talking, excuse me, Honky, as we're talking about losing guys, we just lost Randy, Macho Man, last week, and I know you did a really nice program on it.
Yeah, we did a really good tribute show that we had. It was a record-breaking number of people who tuned in to listen and responded, and I've had nothing but positive response over the tribute, and it was just such a state of shock because I was out in San Jose, California, and the promoter calls me and says, I've got to go to the airport and pick up Lanny, and he says, I don't know what to, I just got word about Randy's passing, and I don't know what to tell him, but fortunately for Lanny and I were going to be in a tag match that night. He was changed planes in Dallas, turned his phone on, and was able to turn around in Dallas and head home.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember he told me he was out of Dallas. He flew home out of Dallas. And me, I was in Boston, in Providence with Tito. And I was in my room, getting ready to go to the show early morning because that Friday I was traveling day. So I went to bed that night not knowing. And so the Saturday morning I'm getting ready and taking my shower. And then I hear, Macho Man was 58, and I said, oh, man, I couldn't believe it, I'd worked, I remember the first time I worked against Randy, I was a baby face out of Atlanta. In fact, I was working with Tommy, and then, in 78, and I went to Alabama for one shot, and I worked against Randy. He was a heel there, and we worked half an hour, him and I, and first time I met him, and really enjoyed working with him. And then I'd never seen him until like you and I, until WWE, and always thought he went all out. He worked hard and did that elbow off the top every night and jump off that top rope, top turnbuckle onto the concrete. So he really he went all out every night. You have to respect that.
Yeah, he was such athleticism to catapult himself over the top rope and up to the top rope and stand. I never tried to stand on that top rope. I did it. I tried once in training school and I almost killed myself. I said, forget this. But Randy could stand there and he could stand there, arms up in the air and hold that pose as long as he wanted. But yeah, and you're right. He worked very, very hard in the ring. Every night he wanted to be better. Every night he wanted every match to be better than the one before. And he would push you to your limit. Yes, he would.
Oh yeah, and how he was, how intense he was, even in the dressing room. I'm going like, Jesus Christ, is this guy ever unwind or what? He was, he was, that neck, pulled down, and I mean, he was like, he was something else.
But what I want to do now is get the real story. How did Randy ever unwind from being so wound up?
Oh yeah, I wonder. I'm not sure how he did it or if he ever did, but man, he was something else, Yes,
he was unbelievable. And when I saw you and and of course, Nick Bockwinkel was on stage with you on Wednesday night, and for your presentation. Yeah. To see you and Nick stand there, I can think, and I know Nick, and I've seen matches of Nick, but to know that you and him had many 60-minute matches is incredible.
Yeah, the first time I worked with Nick was in Honolulu. I was 21 years old, and him and I worked, for a world title match then, and we went 1 hour, and then I said, wow, this guy's great. He was intense and all that. But at the time, when you're that age, you don't realize that he was 20 years older than me. So you don't realize, and then I last time I worked with him, I was 29 and he was 49. And man, I was in good shape, and I kept going, and he kept going and going, and and he never said, hey, look, let's take it easy, kid, or whatever, and he was 49, and he could go, that guy. I mean, I have so much respect for him, he was something else, Nick.
It was so good to see everybody. There's somebody on the phone right now. They're calling from San Juan, Puerto Rico, and he texted me, said, "Mate, I've been waiting for 30 minutes." Steve, can you get the phone?
Yeah. What was the area code?
Well, I hang on a minute. Let me look. I got to pull it up on my. It takes me a second. Rick, you're like I am. I don't understand all this nonsense with these telephones and everything. And
I'm the same way.
I was at the Comic-Con convention this weekend, and people were saying, "Do you know how to play this game?" And you're on this game. I said, "I don't know how to play any. I don't even know how to take a picture on a telephone." It's a 787, Steve.
Okay, we haven't actually got that on the line anymore, so it looks like they've not come through yet. But we do actually have a wrestling legend who does want to talk to Rick the Model Martel. If we can call him up.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, I won't be a second. Okay, it's a surprise for Rick the Model. I won't be a second. Let me just add him to the call.
All right.
We don't do ambush journalism here, Rick, so don't worry.
Okay. Yeah, I was starting to sweat there,
Okay, we should have our special guest with us now. Lanny, are you on the line?
We don't do ambush journalism here, Rick, so don't worry.
Yeah, I was starting to sweat there,
I'm here.
Okay, Lanny Poffo, you're on the line with Rick the Model Martel and the Honky Tonk Man.
Hey, Lanny.
Je suis le chanson génie.
Ah, le son génie, yes. Oh, man, what a surprise. That's great.
Yeah, they asked me if I would do it. I haven't done any interviews since in 10 days.
Hey, Lanny.
Hello, Honky Tonk.
I'm here, Lanny. I'm gonna let you guys take the show now. Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna ruin the show for you.
Yeah, Lanny, it's good to talk with you. I know, it's been couple of days, and I'm glad to hear your voice. It's a nice surprise. Always happy to talk with you.
It's been 10 days, and I thought it was time.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad to talk with you, and I know how hard it is, to lose a brother. I mean, I've been there, and it's I know how you must feel, and like you said, it takes a few days, and it's great that you did the same. You and Randy were in the same profession, so we have to be happy for the time we share doing something we both of you loved. Same with Michelle and I. We had that connection. On top of being brothers, that we did the same profession. And let's face it, professional wrestling is a profession, a very special profession, right?
Oh, yes, and I'm very grateful that I had an opportunity to be in it. And one of the reasons that I've really bounced back is one of the reasons I'm happy to say that my mother, 84 years old, is now doing better and she's eating now. So I managed to get her on her feet, and now she's accepting visitors from neighbors. And I told her, you know, you can give up if you want, and I'll help you give up if you want. But if you want to fight, and if you want to be alive, then Randy wants you to be happy, and I'm going to help make you happy, but you have to meet me halfway.
That's great, Lanny. That's great. That's what she needs, and you know, she needs to go out there, like you just said. You know, when we talked and you told me that she didn't want to see anybody, so I hope she snaps out of it, you know, because it's really not the way to do it, and I'm glad she's turning around now.
I'll tell you what. I'd like to thank Honky Tonk Man. I hope you didn't leave.
No, I'm like a fan sitting here listening to you two guys. Because
I just want to say thank you to both you and Steve Wilton for the excellent tribute that you guys did at a very timely moment. And I did get a chance to. I was just as curious as anybody, and I know you broke box office records like Randy would have loved. And I want to say thank you for a very tasteful and stunning tribute to one of the greatest wrestlers that ever walked down that aisle.
Well, thank you, and that's the least I could do, because I missed having that match with you last Saturday night. We were going to be tag team together, Lanny, but as things worked out, you had to head home, and you did the right thing.
And you know, I like to just say that I like to say thank you to American Airlines. You know, the flight was sold out. I wasn't going to get home. I needed to get home to see my mother. And they broke a few rules. They brought in some supervisors. I lost my dignity. I pleaded my case. And God bless them, they let me go home. They bumped somebody, and I get to go home. And, you know, I needed to be with my mom. I finally got there at 7 p.m. You know, I left at 7 a.m., got to Dallas, learned of the horrible situation, and hung around Dallas like what, Honky?
Well, like Frankie Lane would say, a spare prick at a wedding.
Yes, there you go. And, but I mean, I wish I knew the girl's name.
Just a little humor.
Yeah, you know, if you don't have laughter, what do you have, right, Rick?
That's right, exactly.
You know, and we look. You know, Rick and I have got some private jokes, and so does Honky Tonk and I. You know, we've got some jokes that only mean something to us. Rick, why don't you? I'm a little bit tired and exhausted from talking. Why don't you tell them how that Sans Genie thing came about with you know, René Goulet?
Yeah. There's a saying in French, sans génie, because genius in French is génie, you know, and then he used to call, instead of calling Lanny génie, he used to call him sans génie, you know, like an idiot, you know. So that he used to call him like that all the time, and so we used to tease him with that. And I got a little story, Honky. You know, on my 50th birthday, you know, my wife had a surprise birthday party for me, you know, and I walked in, you know, we were supposed to go a restaurant, you know, between, you know, just my wife and I, you know, and instead, you know, she had some story, you know. She said, look, let's go on the second floor. You know, I got somebody I want you to meet, and then I went there in this room that was full of people, and you know, my 50th birthday, and I'm thrilled, I'm happy, and I'm laughing, and you know, and then all of a sudden there's a clown coming through the crowd, you know. I said, who the hell is that, you know? And this big clown, and then he comes in front of me and he's not saying a word. I'm going, Jesus, what is this? You know, am I supposed to recognize this guy? And then I see those eyes, you know, and it was Lanny that flew in, from Florida, just to surprise me. That was great. I really appreciated that. What a nice surprise, and I never forget that. Lanny and I Honky, we used to travel a lot on the road together, and he was my co-pilot, and he always, I'd be driving and doing the driving, and and of course I didn't trust his driving. He drove like really horrible, so I would always do the driving, and then he'd come in with all these useless facts, did you know, Rick, about this and this, and oh man, I used to rib him about that,
Rick, I have someone on my cell phone on speaker. I will see, maybe you can hear him.
I can't hear it.
You can't hear him?
Okay, again. I'm having a hard time.
Okay. Luke, call the show right now.
Monsieur Vigneault. Ah, man, that's great. Luke. That's great. Great. That's great talking with you, Luke. That's great. It's been a long time.
He's going to call into the show in just a few minutes. It's hard to do it from a cell phone, but gosh, Lanny, I'm so glad that you were a special guest to call in to surprise the model. And we were talking about this, and you and I talked about gimmicks earlier when you first appeared on my show, Lanny. Rick Martel, I saw him at Cauliflower Alley and a few weeks ago, and I looked, I said, you are the model.
Yeah, and I got to say that one of the greatest matches I've ever seen was in North Dakota. It was Tito Santana against Rick Martel. And they had just split up, and Rick Martel was in full model. And, Tito used to throw that flying forearm.
Yeah, that flying burrito.
Well, the worst guy that ever took the bump had to be Nikolai Volkov. But the best guy that ever took that bump had to be Rick Martel. Is that wrong to say? Is that all right if I say that?
Yeah, we used to joke about that, I said, oh man, they'll remember those people, for years and years, that kind of bump I took,
Well, it was hard to take the bump from that flying burrito. I mean, I can promise you that if it was a great match, it was because since Tito's not on the show tonight, I can say it. Rick was probably leading the match and leading Tito. So.
Well, I'm just saying. Okay, Honky Tonk Man, I want you to picture in your mind Nikolai Volkov taking the same bump, falling in 15 different pieces.
Well, I really never saw Nikolai take a bump, so.
Nikolai taking a bump, but I enjoyed working with you. It was like going to a dance, and he was great to work with, in fact, when we worked together, you and the Hart Foundation, you were with Jimmy, right? Jimmy was in your corner.
Yes, Jimmy Hart.
Yeah. I used to. I remember in Europe. You remember when you would take the bus, you will always want to be the first one, and he'd get up early in the morning, so he'd be the first one right by the bus, so he could sit on that front row seat.
Always the first up, first on the bus, first off the bus. I can't say enough about what he did because, listen, I would never have achieved my success without him getting me out of bed and dragging me around to do the thing.
Oh, yeah, he was great, yeah. I remember that one night, we were in Germany, so I ribbed him, I get up really early, and I went on waiting for the bus before him, Oh, he was hot. He was hot. And I went, I got sat on his seat on the front row, and he was. I said, "Come on, Jimmy, I'm just ribbing you." I got him really good.
Okay, we've actually got 787 on the line. I'll put him through now. Bushwhacker Luke, are you there?
Yes, mate. How you doing, Rick?
Good to hear from you, Luke. Great.
It's great to hear you, mate. Lenny, I'm very sad to hear about Randy. We spoke on the phone earlier last week, and my condolence goes out to your mother and yourself.
Well, thank you, Luke, and I appreciate that. You know, I was glad that you called me.
Where? You're calling from Puerto Rico?
No, I'm up in Canada now. I'm with all the Frenchmen up in Canada.
Okay. Where about in Canada?
No, I'm up where you first started in the business in 1973, up in the Maritimes.
Okay, all right.
I heard you. I was listening to you before when you first said your brother called you up or someone got injured and you headed up to the Maritimes. And I remember you being up here, and then the next territory we were together in, that was your first, more or less, territory after here was Stampede.
Yeah, that's right, in Calgary at the St. Regis Hotel. You remember that, Honky?
Oh, please, don't mention.
You were a 17-year-old kid then.
Yeah, the St. Regis Hotel. Oh man, I was 17 years old, and
Mate, there's a lot of stories about the St. Regis Hotel with the boys from the 70s and the 80s and even to the 90s. The old St. Regis Hotel. And I was Ricky. I was just with your mentor, one of your mentors. He left me yesterday. You won't guess who it was.
No. Who was it?
Leo Burke.
Oh, Leo, yes. Oh, God bless him. Yeah, Leo, he was great.
I wrestled you and Leo Burke many times down in New Zealand and other places in the country.
Yeah, that's right. And, I remember Honky and Lanny, when I went to New Zealand in 77, really good friend of Luke. His name was Ray Johns. He was partner with Luke in different venture discotheques, and they had after hours bars, and oh man, it was great. I used to hang out at those bars.
Ray and Luke ran bars worse than the St. Regis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Ricky. Honky knows Ray. Honky met Ray over in Florida many, many years ago in the early 80s.
Oh, you met him?
Yes, I know Ray. Yes, I knew him, and I knew all about those bars. And it's like I said, I think Leo Burke still hangs around the St. Regis.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's right. He lives not far from there.
I don't know if
remember Honky. Remember Ray Jones from New Zealand?
Yes, I remember Ray.
Yeah, that's the guy that Ricky used to hang out with in New Zealand. They used to train every day together, run. They used to train for a couple of hours. This is how crazy they were then. And then they used to run for about 10 miles every day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we used to run every day, and I remember
King Curtis. The end of the run was up the hill. Remember, Rick? The end of the run was up the hill.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah, where Mark Lewin stayed.
I'll go on to another story about Piper, you, Buddy Rose, and myself stopping at the side of the road. Buddy and you and Roddy having races on the side of the road, coming home from the towns or going to the towns in 79-80.
That's right. Yeah, we used to sprint with Buddy. Yeah. Oh man. That's great.
We used to argue in the car, stop the car, and we'd set up a race, and that all race, because you know how big Buddy Rose was, and he used to bet against them, that he could beat them.
Yeah, that's right.
That's going back, isn't it? Ricky, Roddy,
Buddy
Rose.
Hey, Luke, how about Elton Owen?
The Elton Owen stories, the shooter trophy sitting in the locker room in Salem.
That's right. Hey, Honky, have you ever worked Oregon?
No, I never went over there because I heard the horror stories about Elton Owen and his brother, the other guy, and I stayed up. You know, I love the other punishment. I stayed up with Stu and Stampede.
Well, Elton was the only guy that shot himself in the testicles. He shot himself. He was carrying the money out of the building. He had a pistol in his pocket. Elton was drunk every night, and he put his hand in his pocket to get something, pulled the trigger of the gun, and the bullet went into his groin, into his balls. How's that, mate?
Well, how about when we stood in line for the payoff, you know, and we'd take his cigars. He used to smoke cigar, you know. He was a drunk, you know, every night, and he would insult us. And you know, for payback, you know, we used to get a cigar, and each one of us would put it up our ass, you know, and then, you know, we'd put it back there, and he'd smoke the cigars and give us the payoff. And we all knew he had been in everybody's ass, you know.
He used to say, the flavor of the cigar is not like it used to be. These cigars don't taste like they used to taste.
That's right. He used to sell it, yeah.
What about the payoffs? One at a time, slow and easy. Get in line, boys. There's a little bread, but there's no butter. A little bread, no butter.
It was unbelievable. Those great memories.
Well, Lanny, I don't know if you guys, you and Randy and your father ever made it over to Oregon, but that's why I didn't go there.
Well, actually, my father made it there many years ago, and I was there. I preceded Rick Martel there. I was there in '77 and '78, and I was befriended by Roddy Piper, which was a great experience for me.
That's right, Lanny. You worked Oregon. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and Elton Owen, you know, what happened is he used to keep his gun in his pants, and then he dropped the box office, and when he bent down to pick it up, the gun went off and it grazed his testicles and it landed up in his leg. And whenever you have in Oregon state law, whenever you have ballistics or a gun, you know, a bullet wound, they have to ask you a questionnaire. And he was in the emergency room and said, "Mr. Rowan, it wasn't a suicide, was it?" And he said, "God damn it, if I were going to kill myself, do you think I'd shoot myself in the balls?"
Man, there's so many stories we could talk about. Elton Owen's Don was the same one. But Elton was crazy, but it was a great little territory, short road trips, one long trip, but all the rest were short road trips. You got paid the same night, and you had a good time there.
I tell you what, I enjoyed the hell out of it. And another guy that befriended me was Jimmy Snuka, and he really helped me a lot when I was there. He didn't stay that long because he went on to Charlotte, North Carolina, and then to become one of the greatest stars ever in New York. And, you know,
yeah.
So but Jimmy Snuka was very, very nice to me when I was there.
Yeah, we had one of the crew.
Oh, yeah, you know, with Buddy and all that. And Don Owens was one of a kind, you know. He was really a character in the likes of Stu Hart and Jim Barnett and all that. You know, he was a real character. He used to pay you in, you know, in rows of quarters and, God damn it, you know, he was a funny guy to work for, you know.
Hey, Rick, let me ask Rick.
Well, some nights he'd pay you all for $1 bills. The whole payoff.
That's
even
right.
if you're on the top of the card and you're making $500, you get $500 $1 bills.
That's right.
So go ahead, Lanny.
I say, and Elton would say, "Don't tell anybody what you're making. you know.
yeah, like we're gonna tell everybody.
But you know something, Rick? I would love to be able to take my skull off and take my brain and hold it under a faucet and wash out the memories of the ugliest thing I'd ever seen. Do you remember in the WWE when we were driving down that road and Buddy Rose mooned us?
Oh, yes, I remember that.
Well, I would love to forget about
it. Unfortunately, yes.
Holy shit, was that ugly.
Boy, his tail, over the 10 years, he went from 235 to 350.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah, and another, a great talent, a very great talent, Buddy was.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, when I met him in WWE, a great guy. He was always treated me with the utmost respect.
I'll tell you something too. I copied his gimmick because when I was there, he had lost a haircut match and he wore a wig. And so when Brutus the Barber Beefcake cut my hair in 1990, I got a lot of pops with, you know, pretending to be humiliated when the wig came off. That was the gimmick. And it was an absolute steal of what I had seen Buddy Rose do. And the truth must be told, I copied it.
Well, we all
Buddy was always thinking how the fans would think next week, and he would outdo them. Him and Roddy used to sit and scheme, and that's how they sat in that same territory for 10 years.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Anyway, fellas, we're at 5:30. We have to take a hard break. Ricky, gosh, it's been wonderful.
Hey, thank you very much for having me on. You know, I really enjoyed that, Honky, and you know, what great surprise. You know, talking with Luke and Lanny. I really made you know, my night and my week, and I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, and we'll have you back again when we'll talk more about the career that you really had that was before. You know, and Lanny had a career, and Luke had a career. We've all had careers before we were finally remembered for our last career, which was, you know, you're always going to be the model, but you weren't always the model, and Lanny was not always the genius, but he'll be remembered as a genius, and Luke will be remembered as the bushwhacker, but we all had those long careers before all these other names that we're going to be remembered by now, but Lanny, thank you so much, and take care of your mother, and you're doing a wonderful thing.
Oh, and I just want to say once again, both you and Steve, thanks for the tribute to the Macho Man. That was the best I'd ever seen.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Rick.
All right, my pleasure, Honky, and bye-bye, Luke and Lanny.
Bye-bye, Luke. See you.
Okay, we're going to cut to a quick commercial break, and we'll be back in a few moments. And obviously, I'd like to say that we love Lanny and wish all his best to his family. And thanks so much for our guest tonight, which is Rick the Model Martel and Bushwhacker Luke. And we'll be back in a few moments.